right, here we go. Welcome in, everybody. Ole Miss Georgia. Final thoughts, if you will. The last time I'm going to talk to you before that game happens, and that's what we're talking about tonight, almost exclusively, unless something else comes up in the chat like it tends to do. But appreciate you guys hanging out. We've got a lot to discuss. Keys to the game, Ole Miss Georgia. If the Rebels are going to pull off a win on Saturday night, a historic win for multiple reasons, what's it going to take? What do they have to do in order to pull that off? And we'll talk about that. My name is, of course, Michael Borky. Glad that you guys are with me. So I'm trying to figure out this deal with the ads, by the way. In the last video, got some feedback on that. And I don't think I can do anything now. I have to do it in post-production, if that's a thing with this. But either way, I think I have the answer to if you saw too many ads. I think I have the answer, and we'll figure it out after the fact. But anyway, that is something for me to do with. I just want you to know that I hear you, and I'm going to make the necessary adjustments. Hopefully, I can make the necessary adjustments. Either way, my name is Michael Borky. Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Let me know what you think. I want to hear from you. What you think the keys to the game are for Ole Miss at Georgia. Not going to spend much, if any, time talking about the Mississippi State game because, as I have gathered this week, there is very little that Mississippi State fans want to actually hear about this game. It's all coaching search. It's all fire Arnett. It's all that stuff. We have heard very little State fans talk about or ask us to talk about that game. It's just the same thing every week at this point, so we're going to focus on Ole Miss tonight. So let's do that. Then we'll get to the chat. We'll talk some keys for the next 30, 45 minutes or so. We'll start here. Well, the Cover 3 podcast said Ole Miss had the biggest fraud defense in the SEC. What is my opinion on the defense? I have no idea what that statement could possibly mean. What does that mean, the biggest fraud defense in the SEC? Does anybody at all think that they are elite defensively? Does a single person think that? So where is that coming from? I have, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just listening to the wrong people or whatever. But I think Ole Miss's stats defensively match up very well with who they actually are. I think the way that people talk about their defense matches up very well with what they actually are. They are overachieving based on personnel in some spots. They are a dramatically improved defense from last year to this year. No doubt about it. Dramatically improved. But they're not world beaters. They're competent. They're capable. They are, second in the league in sacks. They rotate a lot on the defensive line, and that really helps keep them fresh for 4 quarters. The better teams they play have moved the football generally up and down the field on them with a lot of success. And the not as good teams that they've played, they've given all kinds of trouble to. The stats back that up. They are an opportunistic defense. They make explosive plays, air quotes. But I don't know a single person that thinks that they are anything other than that. They're improved. They're competent. But fraud from what? I don't know. That's just a weird talking point that's been like hammered this week, and I find it so bizarre. So I don't know what to tell you there. I don't know where that's coming from. I don't know who those people are talking to make them think that people think this is an elite defense. Nobody thinks that at all. Not one person thinks that. That's a weird hill to die on, honestly. Isn't it just fitting that right before the biggest game of the season for Ole Miss, this DeSanto Rollins story pops up again? You don't have anything left to say about it, but the reaction to it has been huge. Yeah, look, man, I was hoping we wouldn't have to talk about this tonight. I was hoping to just talk about football, but it's hard to ignore the story. Yes, the timing of it is absolutely intended to be what it is, especially because all of these outlets are covering the exact same thing. Like there's been no material change. I mean, they filed for dismissal, I guess Ole Miss and Kiffin did. But everybody's reporting on the exchange. We knew every word of that already weeks ago when this initially came out. The transcript was out. I mean, this is nothing more than what it is. It's exactly what you think it is. The timing of it is absolutely exactly what you think it is. And largely the reaction has been in defense of Kiffin and Ole Miss. I mean, I've seen some people, like random fans of other schools or idiots on Twitter, that are using it to be opportunistic, to take shots at the people they don't like or whatever. But um, here's why I didn't want to talk about it, because I'm going to tell you a little bit about me, more about me than you probably want to know. This story bothers me for a different reason than it probably bothers you, frankly. Because to be honest with you, I don't care if Lane Kiffin gets sued. This isn't going to go anywhere. It doesn't matter. None of this matters. It's immaterial. It doesn't matter. But this really bothers me, and not even because of what DeSanto did or is doing. It's a college kid. Took some really bad advice, it seems. Didn't handle a situation particularly well, it seems. Um, and truthfully, I think that the some of the language that Kiffin used in the exchange, he shouldn't have. Now, we've all said things, myself included, in the heat of a moment that we would like to take back. But here's why this story bothers me so much. Because I am somebody, if you follow me on social media or if you have for a long time, you know that I have been open about struggles with my mental health. Now, I luckily, if that's the word to use, do not have like a diagnosed, like I am not somebody that suffers through depression, like just generally, like a daily thing that is inexplicable or has no origin. It's just who I am. I don't have any kind of disorder in that regard, but I do, um, or I have suffered what has been described to me as a trauma reaction that led to depression, anxiety at periods of time, very short lived thoughts of self harm because of a handful of things that happened to me in my life. It caused me to detach from people. It caused me to slip into a deep, deep depression. It caused me to be unhealthy. Um, I mean, I was just feeling sick all the time, and there was no reason why. I just was. Um, like I would even have heart palpitations and stuff. I mean, just the stress was unbearable. The I wasn't myself for a very, very long period of time. I'm still not. It still bothers me sometimes. In fact, right before I came live here, I sent a text to somebody, just said that I'm in a very weird mood tonight. I'm not myself today, and that's okay. It is something that I've been working on with a couple of different people to try to get me through the trauma of things that have happened to me over the last few years in my life, things out of my control that happened to me. And so I have suffered, if that's the word you want to use, with it. And um, what I can't stand is when people use that as a convenient crutch. And, maybe, in fact, it's possibly true that what DeSanto Rollins went through when it comes to injuries and getting demoted did lead to, having a hard time mentally. I mean, that adds up, right? If you keep getting hurt, like you're a college football player, but you just can't stay healthy. And then you're told, we're going to switch positions and put you on the scout team because that's, where your role is. If you would like to transfer, we would encourage you to do that because you're not going to play here. It's probably tough to hear for a young person. So I think the long-winded way to say my issue with all of this is the decisions that have been made after the fact. The recording of Lane Kiffin, I think, was done to try to get him. I mean, because why else are you recording that conversation after you've essentially ghosted the team for weeks? But the real issue to me lies in the lawsuit, Because I'd venture to guess that the amount of people that are talking about what happened versus the people that read the lawsuit. Again, this is the lawsuit coming from the players' side. This is their side of the story. If you haven't read that lawsuit, I would encourage you to. But also, it's very hard to find because all the people that are covering this story are conveniently leaving the lawsuit out. Why are they doing that? Go read it if you can find it. I'll send it to you. Just shoot me a DM. I'll send it to you because it's a joke. This young man, if he actually truly was dealing with mental health issues, the people in the adults in his life, and I'm not talking about Lane Kiffin, failed him. This lawsuit it's a joke. It makes a mockery of situations like mine and people that I know. Um, demanding 40 again, admitting to not showing up, by the way, that's not in debate. Disappeared, repeatedly was called to speak to the head coach, refused to do it for at least weeks at a time. So that happened, right? If I were to do that during my struggle, guess what would have happened to me? It would have been justified. In fact, I mean, I was showing up to work. I wasn't really mentally at work, and it did cause problems. I was physically there, but mentally, I wasn't there. And I had to have sit downs with my boss and the owner of Super Talk and the president of Super Talk and tell them what was going on with me because I wasn't here. But I was physically present. If they called me in, I was there because that's what you're supposed to do. And so once that was explained to them, while I was physically present, mentally I'm not there, they showed me grace. They were great to me. Super Talk was incredible. I mean, forever in their debt. But the lawsuit it makes a mockery of mental health issues. First of all, they time travel in it because the dates are all screwed up. It's sloppy as hell. But demanding $40 million and reinstatement on the team while also choosing your position. So it's $40 million, want to be back on the team, and also I get to choose my position. If it also they claim that Ole Miss sexually discriminated against him. Yes, they are claiming that Ole Miss discriminated against him because he's a man. And the amount of people reacting to this didn't read it because it's a joke. If you truly suffered a traumatic experience to the point that it led you to have mental health issues, why are you demanding a court force that person that racially discriminated against you, that mentally abused you, back on the football team at the school that sexually discriminated against you? If this person dealt with real things, the process in which they are going about it makes a mockery of it. The lawsuit is written by somebody that is deeply unserious. The demands are deeply unserious. And so the next time a football player suffers an injury and goes to a coach and says, "Coach, I need a break. I'm not right up here." Coaches around the country should, anyway, think about and remember this right here. It makes a mockery of it all. It's deeply unserious. Should Lane Kiffin have used all of the language that he used on that audio recording? No, I have a feeling he would probably take some of that back. But when you get demoted and then disappear and ignore repeated requests from your coach to meet, and those go ignored, I don't think you don't deserve the right to be on that team anymore. Even if you're going through something, you can at least communicate. And so I think the entire thing, it's a shameful mockery of real issues as opposed to some people anyway. A lot of people are calling it what it is, as opposed to poorly handling a bad situation and adults in his life giving him really, really, really bad advice. So there's 16 minutes worth of something that I didn't even want to talk about tonight. But anyway, that's there we are. You would pick Ole Miss to win if the game was in Oxford at night? I don't think I disagree with you. That's how competitive you think the game is going to be. Yeah, my pick, and I did it on Tuesday. I'm sticking with it. For some reason, I'm sensing a low-scoring game, which means it's going to be 65-62. But my pick, and I'm going to stick with it, I think 28-24 Georgia. I think Ole Miss is going to line up and play with them. I think it's going to be a close game. I think you're going to have periods of time where both offenses struggle a little bit. But I do think that Georgia is going to have just a little bit more than Ole Miss in this game, especially on the road. And so that is my pick. I reserve the right to be wrong. I feel like you guys will forgive me if I am wrong about that one. But yes, I do expect it to be a very close football game. I think Ole Miss is battle tested. That they have proved it this season that they won't get phased by the moment, and they shouldn't. I mean, the free shot thing is real, um, and yeah, I think they're going to play loose and play well, and they're just going to come up just a little bit short, which is totally fine considering what Georgia is currently and what they have been in that venue since 2018. So it's an extremely tall task for Ole Miss in this game, especially even if he gives Georgia 15 plays, which is kind of what's being talked about. 15 plays with Brock Bowers are 15 plays where the possibly the best player at his position in college football is on the field, and that makes it even more difficult for you. But yes, I do expect them to play there and be competitive. Win the turnover battle. That's a big one. I mean, Ole Miss defensively has been really good at forcing turnovers and havoc plays. Jackson Dart's really got to protect the football. I don't think he's got to play like above his head in this game. I don't think it's got to be an LSU where you run for a bunch and throw for over 400. He needs to be smart with the football and protect the ball and not press. I think that's what led to his interception in Tuscaloosa. I think frustration kind of led to him making a bad decision in the second half when the game was still, it was still there for the taking. Can't do that this Saturday. Be smart. If you got to throw it away on third down, throw it away on third down. That's fine. I don't think Georgia's going to score 50 points or whatever in this game. I mean, I think they should trust their defense a little bit, not be reckless with like deep in their own territory, fourth down decisions. Don't force the football where it doesn't belong. Jackson Dart needs to have a smart game. I don't think he has to take like an uber amount of risks in this game for Ole Miss to have a shot in the fourth quarter, which is all you can ask for. It's also interesting that the weather could be sloppy and that could actually benefit Ole Miss. Isn't that crazy? What a turn of events, right? But yes, if it does rain, the forecast is changing constantly. It looks like there will at least be some amount of rain during the game. However much it is, we'll have to see. But yeah, I do think if it comes down to running games, that Ole Miss will have an advantage against Georgia's defense, and that's crazy to say. It's hard to imagine that this crowd is going to be subdued in any way, but a cold rain can at least help keep some of the energy down, right? So from that perspective as well, if it's 45 degrees and raining, you're not going to get the same jacked up environment as if it was 65 degrees and not a cloud in the Georgia night sky. So, I think you kind of hope for that just to maybe keep things a little bit subdued and possibly even keep some people away. Not many. I mean, they're jacked up for this one, but you get my point. So, trash takes tend to eat up clicks in the media. It's usually how that works. Don't believe the propaganda. I mean, hey, look, I'm wrong often. Maybe he's just wrong. I don't know. I mean, it is, in fairness, it is really hard to have intimate knowledge of all of the college football teams. It's easier for NFL people because, I mean, the NFL has half the teams that the Power Five does. It's a lot to keep up with. So sometimes things like that just kind of slip through the cracks when nobody's really arguing that Ole Miss is like elite defensively or anything close. Pete Golding will have the defense in the right places. The issue with Ole Miss on Saturday will, of course, be the talent differential. Yeah, and that's kind of how it's been all year, right? I mean, they are. Look at the LSU game. I mean, very few true busts in that game, but they gave up a billion yards of offense. They were in the right places often. It's just LSU had better players than them. So, um, no, I do not believe that Micah Pettis' injury is karma. I don't particularly like that. Um, Not to be disrespectful to you, man. I appreciate you being here, but no, no, college kid getting hurt is not karma for playing with an edge like he does. He hadn't committed a crime, I don't believe. So you're surprised, but a lot of college football media is backing Kiffin. Yeah, a lot of it is for sure. It is a. I mean, he didn't show. He didn't show up and didn't respond. I mean, what kind of reception do you expect? So the guys on the Cover 3 podcast said Georgia's running backs were the same, if not better than Ole Miss's. Then don't listen to it again. Then don't listen to it again. Georgia is one of the top passing teams in the country, and Carson Beck is playing hot. Maybe some rain could negatively affect that. Yeah, Beck's been really good lately. Really good lately. And he's played in a couple of close games this year. Now, you know, he has yet to play against a team that is on their level talent-wise, and he still won't after this weekend, if we're being totally honest. But also, this is the best defensive front that he's seen all year. You know, that's another thing. It's kind of crazy to say, right? But this is definitely the most active defensive front that he's seen this year. And so, will he respond to that? Probably so. He looks really impressive, but that is a key for this game. If Ole Miss can get pressure and just kind of see what he's got, see what he's capable of when he's under duress, because Ole Miss is really good at getting quarterbacks, generally speaking, uncomfortable and good at getting to them and good at sacks and forcing bad throws and things like that. So we will see. The thing that bothers you the most is the fact that someone saw a troubled kid and manipulated him to do this. Yeah, again, if you haven't read the lawsuit, I would encourage you to read it. It is very unserious, embarrassing. Go and watch Josh Pate's reaction to it. He's handled it better than anyone you've seen. I will do that. I like him generally. So, you know, I don't always agree with him, but who cares? I think he tries to be I don't think he tries to be hot take guy, except for the rankings. That the ranking thing drives me nuts. But other than that, prediction is Ole Miss gets an early lead, but Georgia muscles themselves back into the lead in the second half, and the Ole Miss offense can't consistently move it on the road, something like 31-24. Don't know if Ole Miss will win, but I honestly think that they will play better than they did at Alabama. I do too, actually. They played so freaking tight. This is the analogy I used in the radio show. They played so tight that you could tap them and they would just shatter like broken glass. I don't get the sense that this week is going to be the same. Does it mean they're going to win? I've already told you my prediction. I don't think it means that they are going to win. However, I do think that you're going to have a much more relaxed Ole Miss team this time around than when they were in Tuscaloosa a few weeks ago. Penalties could be a huge factor in the road environment. Absolutely, it could. They can't get off schedule this week. I mean, especially what's so killer about the Ole Miss penalties, and we can debate the merit to them. A lot of them are pathetic, like the Prieskorn hold this past Saturday is just an awful, awful penalty. But either way, they cannot have a quality first down play that comes back on a holding. I mean, those are going to be so important for Ole Miss in this game. Georgia defensively not particularly great on first down. We talked about it on Tuesday, I believe. So Ole Miss has a chance, being as good as they are on first down and early in games too offensively. You can't have those successful first downs to get a drive going and then have them called back. I don't think that they're going to be able to overcome that the way they did, at Auburn, for example. Thoughts on the Ole Miss basketball game tomorrow or the one on Monday night? Tomorrow, I mean, I have no idea about Eastern Washington. I don't know what they're like or anything, so I couldn't tell you. But Monday, it was clear that uh, game day coaching is dramatically different, and offense they moved and played with a purpose. I mean, I think it's a team that's going to struggle to score unless they can get the waiver for Brandon Murray, but they'll play good defense and they'll be competitive and they'll be well coached. But I think they're a scorer or two short to make the NCAA tournament, but we shall see. You're predicting Ole Miss to win and also predicting and praying for an absolute chaotic end to the 14 playoff era. I definitely think you're getting the second one. Ole Miss is capable of winning this game. I agree, but the circumstances of the odds they're facing are insane. No doubt about that. It'd be similar to winning at Bryant-Denny in 2015, maybe, but we don't know what the end result is. My key to the game is unsexy and kind of cliche. Dynasty Bama and now Dynasty Georgia require the same blueprint. Great quarterback, 3 to 5 off script, big plays, and can't lose the turnover battle. Yep. If Bowers plays, he will be a decoy. You hope so. And another one, though, how effective will Brock be if he does play? You hope that he's not, because I said on a podcast earlier today, he's one of one. I mean, I think that he's by far the best tight end in the country. I think that before injury, you had a case that he was the best player at their position in the sport. I mean, he truly is one of one. And as a result of that, if he's truly effective, then Ole Miss is in trouble. If he's not, then chance to win. Free shot is really the best case mindset for them. Absolutely. And Lane has been building that up all week. I wonder how a team receives that. Like, there's kind of a balance, right? Because, free shot, nobody believes in us, nobody believes in us. And then you got to turn around the locker room and say, hey, I believe in you. You know, it's kind of funny how you balance the messaging of nobody believes in us, this is a juggernaut, free shot, nothing to lose. And then you go to your team and tell them, hey, you can win. You can beat these guys for sure. It's I don't know. I guess it's kind of a dumb thing to think, but I thought about that earlier today. To hell with Georgia. Maybe Saturday is that's where they'll get sent. We'll have to see. They have been just an absolute machine in the NIL era. They were a machine before, but they were becoming one before, but they're especially one now. Also, Kirby does believe this Ole Miss team is the threat to their perfection. I believe that. With that being said, I wouldn't be shocked if Ole Miss has a couple of turnovers early on and Georgia wins in sort of a blowout. You just told me that you predicted them to win. Now you're talking about blowouts. I'm just picking on you, man. Bowers may play, but he won't be cutting hard on that ankle. It's hard to disagree with you there. State basketball kicked ass, moved on from football. Hey, I understand. I understand for sure. And that game last night, I know State was missing, 3 starters. One of which they're not going to get back for a while, but that's a Chris Jans kind of game, right? That's their identity. That's his identity, and that's going to be Mississippi State basketball's identity. I think there's a chance that they're a little bit better scoring the ball than they were a year ago, and then they even looked last night. But they're still not going to be a great offensive basketball team, but who cares? I mean, you turn it into a rock fight and you beat people at your game, right? I mean, that led them to the tournament last year. They're a little bit more skilled. And so I think that's a brand. That's an identity, and it will work. It really will work. That was impressive last night. That was a good win. Ole Miss women's basketball lost tonight. Yeah, I frankly, full transparency, didn't watch a dribble. But, Neil McCready said if Ole Miss was 5-4 instead of 8-1, you wouldn't see a push for Arnett to be gone in year one. You agree? Being a revolving door for coaches is a bad look. I think I said on Tuesday it's part of it. It is part of it. But man, it's such a hard product to watch. It is, and nobody's going to the game. I mean, there were thousands and thousands and many thousands of empty seats for the Kentucky game at home on a beautiful Saturday night. They're independent of Ole Miss feeling that as well, though. You'll be in Athens for the game, man. I love Athens. The tailgating is not, it's really spread out. It's not what you're used to, but I enjoy it. The only thing I don't like about it is people do actually bark at you. That is a thing that happens. It's very weird. But otherwise, I mean, the stadium is really nice. The campus is huge. Bring your walk-in shoes. Don't wear shoes that you don't like walking in, because you're not going to park anywhere close to the stadium, and you're going to have to walk miles to get there for sure. I would encourage you just to go to tailgate, quote unquote, at the bars. They've got a ton of them. Their downtown area is cool. It'll be climate controlled, and you'll be able to get drinks, and it's more fun that way, truthfully. But you'll have a good time. It's a good town. Mostly really good people. Of course, you get the shitheads in every fan base, all of them, and you'll get barked at instead of just told to go to hell. But no, you'll have fun. It's a good place to watch a game. But again, I would encourage you to just spend your day at the downtown at the bars, as opposed to trying to find like a tailgate, unless you're going to the alumni thing or whatever. Just go to the bars. But love tuning in. Appreciate hearing your thoughts. Couldn't imagine doing this a few nights a week with a child. Well, only after bedtime. That's the only way I can do this, is after bedtime. So the Rebs are breaking out the Great White Shark all-white uniforms for ESPN primetime. I like them. People are critical of them and say they look like Wisconsin, and I kind of see that, but it's a good look. Playing at Auburn and Alabama will likely help this team some with the environment. Yeah, the environment, if they lose, I'm not going to sit here on Saturday night or Sunday night whenever I talk to you guys next and say things like, well, they lost because the crowd was too good. I don't, maybe that does actually get to them, but I don't think if they lose, I don't expect that to be the reason why. So if Ole Miss wins, you're still not believing they're going to the playoffs, because you just won't get your hopes up and expectations for that this time. I mean, they would need so much help. They would need so much help. Getting into the playoffs would require a lot of losing, and kind of an inordinate amount of losing above them. I mean, they would need Penn State to beat Michigan, and I guess Michigan beat Ohio State, and then Iowa beat Michigan to get the Big Ten out. I mean, it's a mess. There's a Power Five, and the champion of all the Power Five, as long as they don't lose a stupid game, would have a quote unquote greater claim than Ole Miss, because they do weigh conference championships in their decision. And if the SEC champion goes, are they really going to have a one-loss non-champion get in over a one-loss champion? Well, no. And so anyway, they would need a whole lot of help. Winning this game still doesn't do much right now in terms of making the playoff. They would need a lot of losing to happen. So already loving the 7'5" kid. Sharp, yeah, he's fun. He's fun. Calling it a night. Thanks for the video. Going to finish it on that lovely 5-hour drive from Grenada to Ocean Springs. Well, appreciate you, Anthony. Glad you were here, man. Always good to hear from you, and always good to see you. Kirby could go full boa constrictor mode if it's clear Ole Miss bogs down on offense, and his team's going to do that too. I mean, just killers, man. He is a killer. He's those pregame speeches are, pregame speeches don't mean anything, right? It's all about the preparation leading up to games and stuff like that. The pregame speech, games aren't won and lost there, but you can hear with the way he approaches those, paired with the way his team plays, how they have established their identity. He's a firecracker, man. Really excited for the game. Ole Miss fans should feel no pressure going to Athens. No, absolutely not. Just go have fun. If the team plays well, great. Cheers. It's one of the few games that are like that. Kirby probably has a burner reading y'all predicting a win in the chat, and we'll roll it tomorrow with the "No one believes in us" rally. That's the best thing that his best quality as a coach is convincing a team full of 85 of the best players in America that nobody believes in them. It truly, considering the egos and stuff of college kids and everything that they see around them all the time, and convincing that group, despite the rankings and the wins and what their classmates tell them and what they see on Twitter, that nobody believes in them, takes like mentally, man, he's good. If Georgia countered the all whites with the blackouts, you're talking about an all-time uniform game. Yeah, it's a shame that they'll never wear those again because they lost. There are no keys to the game. We aren't winning. Barbara, we need a little positivity around here. Neil, I actually spent a good 10 minutes talking about the lawsuit. So when this ends, just hit refresh and kind of start, I think, like 3 minutes in. And I gave some pretty extensive thoughts on that. So, yeah, I hate to say it, that sounded like a jerk. Like, hey, just go rewatch. I already talked about it. But yeah, it was pretty long and took a lot out of me, frankly. So. Unnecessary roughness question. Why does Ole Miss have dirtbag quarterbacks on their pod today? Not that they were calling them that, but just an observation. They do. I mean, Jackson Dart kind of looks like one. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think Matt Corral and Jackson Dart both play with an edge and kind of have an attitude that is separate. They're different guys, of course, but I mean, they're kind of dirtbags and they kind of play like that. I view that as a compliment. I don't know what they said about it. I'm not going to listen to it, to be honest with you. Nothing against them. I'm just not. But I don't view the phrase dirtbag as a bad thing. Matt Corral was a dirtbag. He wanted to run people over, and he was tough as hell, and he had an attitude and arm that was covered in tattoos. And Jackson Dart has his goofy mustache and wants to run over people and talks shit and has a bit of an edge to him. Yeah, they're kind of dirtbags, and that works. That style works for them, and the team responds to that clearly. You'll take a New Year's Six, which is guaranteed right now. Playoff is icing on the cake. Oh my God! If you can play Penn State in the Orange Bowl, man, what a season that would have been. Is rain during the game better for Ole Miss? I do believe so, yes. I do think that Ole Miss's running game against Georgia's rush defense is advantage Ole Miss. So, yes. Barbara would make a good State fan with the negativity. See, Barbara, I kind of disagree with you here. You say, once again, we aren't beating Georgia. You're setting yourself up to be really down on Saturday. Your defense is not going to stop that offense, just being realistic. Yeah, understood. I don't think they're going to win the game myself, but from our listeners on the radio show, and then the chat here a couple times this week, I've really the gauge I've gotten from Ole Miss fans is that as long as they don't get their ass kicked, forgive my language, on Saturday night, they're okay. I think they're excited about the opportunity, but if it doesn't get fulfilled, aside from a couple idiots on the message boards that are going to, rip on Dart and talk about Spencer Sanders for some reason, because those like 10 people can't let that go. I think the fan base is in a pretty good mental state right now, if we're being honest. But anyway, quit being a Karen. That's not nice. Barbara's just trolling. Yeah. No, It's okay to not believe that you're going to go to Georgia and win. That's for sure. But no, I'm excited to watch the game. I think that already, as we talked about on Tuesday, Ole Miss is headed in a direction of sustainability, regardless of the outcome tomorrow. Excuse me, on Saturday. I wish tomorrow was Saturday. It is not. I don't know how I'm going to get through another day of this week, but I will figure it out as best I can. I think regardless of the outcome Saturday, the program itself is elevating its floor, and that's clear for anybody that's objectively paying attention. But a win over Georgia would be validation that nobody could ignore. But that's all it would be if this season ends with again with like an Orange Bowl bid, and they're playing Penn State in the Orange Bowl, or they're playing Oklahoma in the Cotton Bowl. I mean, what a wild success that it would be. So, other games I'm watching on Saturday, Michigan, Penn State. Obviously, I am rooting hard for Penn State, which is hard for me to do, but I want to see the Sign Steelers lose. I am so looking forward to how the internet is going to handle a Michigan loss to Penn State on Saturday if it does happen. So watching that one closely. Uh, I mean, I'll watch a little bit of Arizona, Colorado, I suppose. Um, the 2:30 games are great. I mean, you've got a handful of them. Miami, Florida State is not a quote unquote great game, but if you're an Ole Miss fan and you think you're going to beat Georgia, you want Florida State to lose. If you're an Ole Miss fan, you think that you're going to beat Georgia, you want Washington to lose to Utah. That should be a great game. You've got Tennessee, Missouri, just for your SEC flavor. Um, Texas at TCU is kind of compelling to me, if we're being honest. And the nightcap, USC, Oregon. USC, Oregon. I know Oregon's the better team. I know they're better coached, frankly, at this point. I know they're more complete. But anytime Caleb Williams is on the field, anytime he's on the field, they have a chance to win. Can they go to Eugene and win? We will see. That's the chaos that we're talking about, even though Oregon already has one loss. But still, chaos can start this weekend. So anyway, all right, guys, I got to run. I got a couple of things to do. I appreciate you hanging out and being a part, as always. I'll just put it this way. If Ole Miss happens to beat Georgia, I will see you live on Saturday night. If they do not, Sunday, 7:45 sharp on Sunday, 7:45 sharp. I'll see you then. You guys have a great weekend. Be safe. Enjoy your football. And I'll talk to you on either Saturday night or Sunday night.